I will be reporting on the 5-year follow-up results on the ECHELON-1 study, which was a randomized trial of Brentuximab Vedotin plus doxorubicin, vinblastine, and dacarbazine, or AVD, as compared with standard of care with ABVD, doxorubicin, bleomycin, vinblastine, and dacarbazine for previously untreated patients with stage 3 and 4 classical Hodgkin lymphoma. This was a large international randomized trial of over 1,300 patients, randomized 1-to-1 to each arm of the study. The patients received 6 cycles of each regimen. The primary endpoint was the modified progression-free survival at 2 years of follow-up, which was defined as relapses, deaths, or incomplete responses leading to initiation of new treatment. So this is very similar to event-free survival, but the difference is event-free survival is from the initiation of treatment and modified progression-free survival is from the end of treatment. This was one of the primary endpoints, and at 2 years, there was a 5% advantage in modified PFS favoring BV plus AVD, 82.1% versus ABVD, standard of care, 77.2%. This was statistically significant and led to the approval of A+AVD or BV plus AVD as a frontline treatment choice for patients with previously untreated stage 3 and 4 Hodgkin lymphoma in the US. A second primary endpoint is overall survival based on the number of death events. And these have not been reached as yet. So this other primary endpoint, survival, has not been met and patients continue in follow-up. So we did analyses after 3 and 4 year follow-up using progression-free survival per investigator. The MPFS was per central review. The central review committee was disbanded after that. So the later analyses are 3, 4, and now 5 years per investigator progression-free survival. And what we found in the intent to treat population, and so we report now the 5-year results, which are really kind of a very important endpoint, because in advanced stage Hodgkin lymphoma treated with this type of chemotherapy, 95% of relapses and events occur within the first 5 years, and only 5% after 5 years. And so we now also report certain toxicity and safety data. So at 5 years, we found, as we did at 3 and 4 years, that this difference in progression-free survival favoring BV plus AVD was maintained. There was a 7% difference in PFS, 82.2% for BV plus AVD versus 75.3% for ABVD. We also found in a forest plot, which is in the poster, the advantage was seen in really basically all subgroups, all prognostic subgroups, including age, IPI score, stage, presence or absence of B symptoms, nodal and extranodal sites, and performance status. So we looked at certain long-term toxicity things, among them peripheral neuropathy, which was a major problem and higher in patients with BV plus AVD as compared with those treated with standard ABVD. However, at the 2-year point of the primary endpoint of modified PFS, 67% of the BV plus AVD patients had improvement in peripheral neuropathy, 75% of the ABVD arm, and at 5 years, this was increased to 84% for the BV plus AVD patients and 85% for the ABVD patients, all but less than 3% or less of remaining toxicity was grade 1 and 2. But the improvement was seen in 84% of the BV plus AVD arm, showing that this problem resolves in most patients with time. New data that we really needed the longer follow-up included second malignancies, and importantly, there did not seem to be an excess of second malignancies in patients treated with BV plus AVD as compared to those treated with ABVD. There were 19 second malignancies in the BV plus AVD arm and 29 in the ABVD arm. Another important thing that we're reporting is pregnancies, and we found that there was no increased infertility in patients in pregnancies, and no difference in pregnancies, importantly, difference in pregnancies between the two arms of the study. So we had 150 on-site pregnancies in participants or their partners, and all of these were ongoing or resulted in live births. We feel that these 5-year results are very important because most of the relapses and events occur within the first 5 years and only 5% or so after that time. We find a sustained benefit in progression-free survival with BV plus AVD. We have not seen, we have not had enough events as yet to report on survival. And we did not find an excess of infertility in patients on the BV plus AVD arm, and we did not find an excessive number of second malignancies. We do not anticipate that we will see a lot of late second malignancies, which are associated with radiation therapy, which was not used in this trial. So we feel that BV plus AVD can be considered a very attractive option for all patients, regardless of prognostic factors and stage, for previously untreated stage 3 and 4 classical Hodgkin lymphoma.